Attending school is a right of all children in Michigan, regardless of their housing situation. Transporting homeless youth is an important part of the student's success in school. It may be the best thing to happen to them, considering their unfortunate situation. 1 of every 3 homeless persons in Michigan is a child. More than half the homeless in Michigan are composed of families. 33% of homeless families are working poor. The McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Assistance Act is a federal law that ensures immediate enrollment and educational stability for homeless children and youth. McKinney-Vento provides federal funding to states for the purpose of supporting homeless students. This video will assist in explaining the rights of homeless students according to the McKinney-Vento Act with transportation to and from school. The definition of homeless children, according to the McKinney-Vento Act, is children and youth who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. Some examples are sharing the housing of others due to loss of housing or economic hardship, living in motels, hotels, RV or trailer parks, or campgrounds due to lack of adequate alternative accommodations, living in emergency, domestic violence, or transitional shelters, temporary foster care placement or awaiting placement, living in public or private places not designed for humans to live or sleep, living in cars, parks, abandoned buildings, bus or train stations, under bridges, etc., or migratory children living in the same circumstances. These young people experience many barriers in receiving their education. Many students have issues, such as failing to meet enrollment requirements, such as lack of school records, immunizations, proof of residence and guardianship, high mobility resulting in lack of school stability and educational continuity, lack of school supplies, clothing, etc., lack of access to programs, lack of transportation, poor health, fatigue, hunger, and prejudice and misunderstanding. The McKinney-Vento Act is a federal law that requires school districts to provide transportation for students experiencing homelessness in these situations. School districts must provide transportation to the school of origin upon the request of a parent or guardian, or, in the case of an unaccompanied youth, upon the request of the McKinney-Vento liaison. The homeless liaison is responsible for ensuring the identification, school enrollment, attendance, and opportunities for academic success of students in homeless situations. Some of these activities may be performed by the local liaison himself or herself, while others are accomplished by coordinating the efforts of other staff. This is true regardless of whether the district provides transportation for other students or in other circumstances. For other transportation, as opposed to the school of origin, the McKinney-Vento Act requires districts to provide transportation comparable to that provided to house students. The McKinney-Vento Act does not specify any mileage or time limit for travel to the school of origin. The Act requires a school district to provide transportation to the school of origin at the request of a parent or guardian, or for unaccompanied youth at the McKinney-Vento liaison's request. This determination will depend on the student's circumstances. Therefore, whenever a student is attending the school of origin, transportation is required. A commute so lengthy as to be harmful to the child's educational achievement will weigh against placement in the school of origin. For example, a lengthy commute that may be harmful to a young child may be feasible for an older youth. Here are a few examples. Is transportation required if the school of origin is in another school district? Yes. As long as attendance at the school of origin is feasible, transportation is required, even if it requires students to cross district lines. If 2 districts are involved, they must agree upon a method to apportion the cost and responsibility of transportation or split it equally. Establishing interdistrict transportation procedures will be essential to ensure that transportation is arranged quickly for students. If a student is crossing the district lines to remain at the school of origin, which district has primary responsibility to arrange and fund the transportation? The McKinney-Vento Act first gives school districts and states the flexibility to agree upon a method to apportion cost and responsibility. The Act further states that, in the absence of agreement, the two districts must apportion cost and responsibility equally. However responsibility is divided, students must be provided with transportation without delay. In practice, the state may wish to designate either the district of origin or the district of residence as the lead agency to avoid any delays in initiating services while such disagreements are resolved. Any such delays would violate the McKinney-Vento Act's requirement that students be immediately enrolled in the selected school. Can a school district reimburse parents to transport their children, or can a school district reimburse youth who are transporting themselves? Yes and yes. School districts may provide gas vouchers or mileage reimbursement to parents or youth who have cars and are able to provide transportation as a cost-effective means to meet the district's obligation. Does providing or arranging for transportation mean door-to-door transportation, similar to transportation for students receiving special education services? Generally, no. The McKinney-Vento Act does not require door-to-door transportation, unless that is the only appropriate arrangement for a particular student. For example, if a student is living on or near an extremely busy intersection, it may not be appropriate to expect the child to cross the intersection and walk to a bus stop some distance away. In such a situation, safety may require door-to-door transportation. The mode and details of transportation cannot present a barrier to the child's attendance in school. Does providing access to public transportation qualify as providing transportation? Yes, if the public transportation is appropriate. For example, young children cannot be expected to use public transportation alone. In such cases, school districts should provide transit passes for an available adult caregiver to escort the child, or provide another form of transportation. Similarly, if traveling to a school of origin on public transit requires an unreasonable length of time, another mode of transportation may be required. The mode and details of transportation cannot present a barrier to the child's attendance in school. If a district doesn't offer transportation to summer school for any students, does it have to provide summer school transportation for students in homeless situations? It depends on the nature of the summer school participation. The McKinney-Vento Act requires schools to provide comparable transportation services for students in homeless situations. If the school does not provide transportation to summer school for housed students, then it is generally not required to provide transportation to homeless students. However, if attendance in summer school is required for the student to pass to the next grade and lack of transportation will prevent the child from participating, that presents a barrier to the student's full participation in school and academic success. How does the McKinney-Vento Act interact with state or local transportation policies related to safety, interdistrict transportation, and other issues? As a federal law, the McKinney-Vento Act supersedes conflicting state and local laws and policies. School districts must comply with the Act's transportation requirements. However, transportation must always be safe and appropriate, and school districts must comply with safety regulations and the McKinney-Vento Act simultaneously. Interdistrict transportation policies usually are related to fiscal issues. Such consideration must not interfere with a student's right to be transported under the McKinney-Vento Act. Transporting homeless youth is an important part of the student's success in school. Overall, school districts must eliminate barriers to the school enrollment and retention of students experiencing homelessness. Every situation is different, and the solutions may vary from case to case, but the focus should always be kept on the best interest of the child. By working together, we can make a difference in the lives of our homeless children.